Imagine waking up one day and feeling like your whole world has been turned upside down. Everything you thought you knew suddenly seems different. Your old beliefs start to crumble, and your familiar routines no longer make sense. This isn't just a bad day or a rough patch. It's what many people call a spiritual awakening. Now, you might think that sounds amazing, right? After all, awakening sounds so positive and enlightening. But here's the twist. A spiritual awakening can actually feel like it's ruining your life. Scary, isn't it? But what if I told you that this ruining is exactly what needs to happen? Think about it for a moment. We often hear about spiritual awakenings as these beautiful, peaceful experiences where everything suddenly makes sense and life becomes perfect. But the truth is, it's usually not that simple or painless. In fact, a real spiritual awakening can feel more like a tornado ripping through your life than a gentle breeze of enlightenment. It can leave you feeling lost, confused, and wondering if you're going crazy. But here's the key. Sometimes things need to fall apart so that something better can be built in their place. In this video, we're going to dive deep into why a spiritual awakening can feel like it's ruining your life, and more importantly, why that ruin might be the best thing that's ever happened to you. We'll explore the chaos, the confusion, and yes, even the pain that can come with awakening. But we'll also look at how this process can lead to a more authentic, fulfilling life than you ever thought possible. So if you're going through a spiritual awakening and feeling like your life is falling apart, or if you're curious about what this journey really looks like, stick around. This might just be the most important video you watch today. Before we dive into why a spiritual awakening can feel like it's ruining your life, let's take a moment to understand what we're really talking about. What exactly is a spiritual awakening? Well, in simple terms, a spiritual awakening is a shift in consciousness that changes how you see yourself and the world around you. It's like someone suddenly turned on a light in a dark room you've been living in for years. Suddenly, you can see things you never noticed before, and everything looks different. Now, this doesn't mean you suddenly become all-knowing or gain magical powers. It's more like waking up from a dream and realizing that what you thought was real might not be the whole picture. You start to question things you've always taken for granted. Why do I believe what I believe? Is there more to life than what I've been told? What's my real purpose here? These are the kinds of questions that start popping up during a spiritual awakening. It's important to understand that a spiritual awakening isn't about joining a religion or following a specific set of beliefs. In fact, it's often quite the opposite. Many people find that their spiritual awakening leads them to question or even leave behind religious beliefs they've held for years. This awakening is more about connecting with a deeper sense of truth and meaning in your life. It's about peeling back the layers of societal conditioning and finding out who you really are underneath it all. One of the tricky things about spiritual awakenings is that they can happen in different ways for different people. For some, it might be a sudden, dramatic experience, like a near-death event or a profound meditation experience. For others, it might be a slower process that unfolds over months or even years. You might start noticing synchronicities, those weird coincidences that seem too meaningful to be just chance. Or you might find yourself drawn to spiritual books or practices without really knowing why. Another key point about spiritual awakenings is that they're not always voluntary. You don't necessarily choose to have one. It often feels like it chooses you. This can be part of why it feels so disruptive. You didn't ask for your whole worldview to be turned upside down, but here you are, seeing everything differently and not quite sure what to do about it. It's also worth noting that spiritual awakenings aren't just about feeling good or becoming more spiritual. They often involve facing hard truths about yourself and the world. You might start to see patterns in your behavior that you've been ignoring for years. You might realize that some of your relationships aren't as healthy as you thought. You might even start to question the career path you've been on for decades. This process of seeing things more clearly can be both liberating and terrifying. One way to think about a spiritual awakening is like updating the operating system on your computer. The old system was working fine, or so you thought, but now you've got this new version that shows you things the old one couldn't. It might take some getting used to, and some of your old programs might not work anymore, but ultimately, this new system allows you to do things you never could before. So, while a spiritual awakening is often portrayed as this blissful, enlightening experience, the reality is often much more complex. Yes, there can be moments of incredible clarity and joy, but there can also be periods of intense confusion, doubt, and even fear. It's a process of growth and transformation, and like any growth, it can be uncomfortable. But as we'll explore in the rest of this video, that discomfort might just be the key to unlocking a more authentic and fulfilling life. Now that we've got a handle on what a spiritual awakening is, let's talk about why it can feel like it's turning your life upside down. Remember that light we talked about earlier, the one that suddenly illuminates the room you've been living in? Well, when that light comes on, you might not like everything you see. This is where the ruining part comes in. First off, your relationships might start to change. You might find that some of the people you've been close to for years suddenly feel different. It's not that they've changed, it's that you're seeing them with new eyes. Maybe you start to notice patterns in your friendships or romantic relationships that you were blind to before. You might realize that some of these relationships are based on habits or mutual need rather than genuine connection. This can be a tough pill to swallow, especially if we're talking about long-term friendships or even family relationships. You might find yourself pulling away from people you once spent a lot of time with, or feeling a strong urge to connect with new people who share your awakening experiences. This shift can feel isolating at times. You might feel like you're speaking a different language than the people around you, trying to express experiences that they can't relate to. It's not uncommon to feel lonely during this process, even if you're surrounded by people who care about you. Your job or career might also start to feel different. If you've been working in a field that doesn't align with your newfound values or sense of purpose, you might start to feel restless or unfulfilled. That promotion you've been working towards for years might suddenly seem less important. You might find yourself questioning the whole idea of success as it's defined by society. Do you really need that bigger house or fancier car? Is climbing the corporate ladder really what you want to do with your life? This shift in priorities can be especially challenging if you've built your whole life around certain career goals. You might feel like you're throwing away years of hard work and education. The idea of starting over in a new field can be scary, especially if you have financial responsibilities or people depending on you. But at the same time, the idea of staying in a job that no longer feels meaningful can start to feel impossible. Your beliefs and values might also go through a major shakeup. Things you've believed your whole life might suddenly not make sense anymore. This can be particularly challenging if you've been part of a religious community or have strong cultural beliefs. You might find yourself questioning ideas that have been central to your identity for years. This can feel like losing a part of yourself, which can be scary and disorienting. Even your daily habits and routines might start to feel off. Activities you used to enjoy might no longer interest you. You might find yourself drawn to new practices like meditation or yoga, even if you've never been interested in them before. Your diet might change as you become more aware of how different foods affect your body and mind. You might even find your sleep patterns shifting, waking up at odd hours or having vivid dreams. All of these changes can make you feel like you're losing your grip on reality. The solid ground you thought you were standing on starts to feel shaky. It's like you've been playing a game your whole life, and suddenly someone changed all the rules without telling you. This can lead to feelings of anxiety, depression, or what's often called a spiritual emergency, a crisis that comes from rapid spiritual growth. It's important to understand that this disruption, as uncomfortable as it is a natural part of the awakening process. It's like cleaning out a cluttered closet. Things have to get messier before they can get organized. Your old ways of thinking and being are being challenged, making room for new perspectives and ways of living that are more in line with your authentic self. This process can feel like your life is falling apart, and in a way, it is. But it's not falling apart in a random, chaotic way. It's more like a controlled demolition, clearing away the old structures to make room for something new and better. The key is to remember that this falling apart is actually the first step in rebuilding your life in a way that's more authentic and fulfilling. In the next section, we'll dive deeper into why this process feels so much like ruin, and why that feeling of ruin might actually be a good sign. We'll explore the discomfort and confusion that come with awakening, and how to navigate this challenging but ultimately transformative process. Remember, if you're going through this right now, you're not alone, and what feels like ruin might actually be the beginning of something beautiful. When you're going through a spiritual awakening, it can feel like everything in your life is falling apart. But why does it feel so much like ruin? The answer lies in the clash between your new awareness and your old way of living. It's like you've been given a pair of glasses that let you see the world in high definition for the first time, and suddenly all the flaws and cracks you never noticed before are glaringly obvious. One of the main reasons this feels so uncomfortable is because it challenges your sense of identity. For years, maybe even decades, you've built up an idea of who you are. This identity is based on your beliefs, your job, your relationships, and your place in society. But when you start to awaken spiritually, you begin to see that this identity isn't the whole truth. It's more like a character you've been playing in a movie. Realizing this can be incredibly disorienting. Who are you if you're not the person you thought you were? This questioning of your fundamental sense of self can feel like you're losing your grip on reality. Another reason this process feels like ruin is because it often involves facing hard truths about yourself and your life. Maybe you start to see patterns in your behavior that you've been ignoring for years. You might realize that you've been staying in a job you hate because you're afraid of change, or that you've been repeating the same unhealthy relationship patterns over and over. These realizations can be painful. It's like shining a bright light into the dark corners of your life. You might not like everything you see, but once you've seen it, you can't unsee it. The discomfort also comes from the fact that your new awareness often puts you at odds with the world around you. You might start to see problems with systems and structures that you used to accept without question. This can lead to a sense of alienation from society. You might feel like you don't fit in anymore, or like you're seeing a different reality than everyone else. This can be incredibly lonely and confusing. It's also worth noting that this process often involves grieving. You're essentially saying goodbye to your old self and your old life. Even if you know that these changes are ultimately for the better, it's normal to feel a sense of loss. You might grieve for relationships that no longer serve you, or for dreams and goals that no longer align with your new understanding of yourself. This grief can feel a lot like things falling apart or being ruined. The feeling of ruin also comes from the uncertainty of this process. When you're going through a spiritual awakening, you often feel like you're in a state of limbo. Your old life doesn't fit anymore, but you're not sure what your new life is supposed to look like. This in-between state can be incredibly uncomfortable. It's like you're standing in the rubble of your old life, not sure how to start rebuilding. But here's the thing. This feeling of ruin, as uncomfortable as it is actually a sign that you're on the right track. It's a necessary part of the awakening process. Think of it like renovating a house. Before you can build something new and beautiful, you often have to tear down the old structures. It's messy and chaotic, and for a while, it might look like things are getting worse instead of better. But this destruction is necessary to make room for something new. Now that we understand why a spiritual awakening can feel like it's ruining your life, let's talk about why this ruin is actually necessary. Remember, what feels like destruction is often just the first step in a process of rebuilding and growth. Think about it like this. Your life is like a garden. Over the years, you've planted certain beliefs, habits, and ways of being. Some of these have grown into beautiful, healthy plants that serve you well. But others have turned into weeds that are choking out the good plants. A spiritual awakening is like finally seeing your garden clearly and realizing that some major work needs to be done. Yes, it might feel like you're destroying your garden when you start pulling out those weeds, but it's necessary if you want to make room for new, healthier growth. One of the main things that needs to be destroyed during a spiritual awakening is your old beliefs and thought patterns. These are the weeds in your mental garden. Maybe you've always believed that your worth is tied to your achievements, or that you need to struggle to be successful. These beliefs might have served a purpose at one point, but now they're holding you back. Letting go of these old beliefs can feel like losing a part of yourself, but it's necessary to make room for new, more empowering ways of thinking. Another area where destruction is often necessary is in your relationships. As you grow and change, you might find that some relationships no longer fit. This doesn't mean these relationships were bad. They might have been exactly what you needed at one point in your life. But now, as you're awakening, you might need different types of connections. Letting go of relationships that no longer serve you can feel like a loss, but it's making space for new, more aligned connections to enter your life. Your old habits and routines might also need some shaking up. Maybe you've always dealt with stress by binge-watching TV, or you've used food or alcohol to numb uncomfortable feelings. These habits might have helped you cope in the past, but now they're keeping you from fully experiencing your life. Breaking these habits can be hard. They're comfortable and familiar, even if they're not healthy. But destroying these old patterns is necessary to create new, more supportive habits. Even your goals and dreams might need some destruction. This can be one of the hardest parts of the awakening process. Maybe you've spent years working towards a certain career goal, only to realize that it doesn't align with your true self. Letting go of these old dreams can feel like failure, but it's actually a sign of growth. You're making room for new dreams that are more in line with your authentic self. It's important to understand that this destruction isn't random or chaotic. It's more like a controlled demolition. You're intentionally letting go of things that no longer serve you to make room for what does. This process can be painful and scary, but it's ultimately liberating. You're freeing yourself from old limitations and creating space for new possibilities. Think of it like pruning a tree. When you prune a tree, you're cutting away parts of it. To an outside observer, it might look like you're harming the tree. But any gardener knows that pruning is necessary for the tree to grow stronger and healthier. The same is true for your life during a spiritual awakening. What looks like destruction is actually careful pruning, removing what's no longer needed so that new growth can occur. This necessary destruction also involves facing your shadows, the parts of yourself that you've been avoiding or denying. This can be one of the most challenging aspects of the awakening process. You might have to confront old traumas, face your fears, or acknowledge parts of yourself that you're not proud of. This process can feel like you're falling apart, but it's actually a crucial step in becoming whole. By integrating these shadow aspects, you're becoming more authentic and complete. Remember, the goal of this destruction isn't to leave you with nothing. It's to clear away what's no longer serving you so that you can rebuild in a way that's more aligned with your true self. Yes, it can feel like your life is being ruined. But what's really being ruined are the illusions and limitations that have been holding you back. You're not losing yourself. You're finding your true self. Now that we've talked about why destruction is necessary, let's focus on the exciting part, the rebirth that comes after. This is where the magic really happens. After all the turmoil and chaos of the awakening process, something beautiful starts to emerge. It's like the story of the phoenix, the mythical bird that burns to ashes and then rises again, more beautiful and powerful than before. One of the first things you might notice in this rebirth phase is a new sense of clarity. All that questioning and soul-searching you've been doing starts to pay off. You begin to see your life, your purpose, and your place in the world with fresh eyes. It's like the fog has lifted, and suddenly the path ahead is clear. This clarity can be incredibly empowering. You're no longer stumbling around in the dark. You've got a light to guide you. With this new clarity, often comes a stronger sense of purpose. You start to understand why you're here and what you're meant to do. This doesn't mean you suddenly have all the answers, but you have a clearer sense of direction. Maybe you realize that you're meant to help others, or that you have a unique gift to share with the world. This sense of purpose can give your life a new meaning and drive that you might have been missing before. Another beautiful aspect of this rebirth is a deeper connection with yourself. All that inner work you've been doing, facing your shadows, questioning your beliefs, exploring your true nature, it all leads to a more authentic relationship with yourself. You start to love and accept yourself more fully, including the parts you used to try to hide or change. This self-love and acceptance can be truly transformative. It changes how you move through the world and how you interact with others. Speaking of others, you might find that your relationships start to transform in beautiful ways. As you become more authentic, you naturally attract people who resonate with your true self. You might form deeper, more meaningful connections. Even your existing relationships can improve as you bring more honesty and authenticity to them. You're no longer trying to be who you think others want you to be. You're just being yourself, and that authenticity is magnetic. Your perspective on life often shifts dramatically during this rebirth phase. Things that used to stress you out might not seem so important anymore. You might find yourself more able to go with the flow, trusting in the process of life. This doesn't mean you never have problems, but you're better equipped to handle them. You've been through the fire of awakening, and you've come out stronger on the other side. Many people also experience a new sense of connection with something greater than themselves during this rebirth. Whether you call it God, the universe, source, or something else, there's often a feeling of being part of something bigger. This can bring a profound sense of peace and security. You realize you're not alone in this journey. You're supported by something vast and loving. Your creativity might also blossom in new and unexpected ways. As you let go of old limitations and connect with your true self, you might find yourself exploring new forms of expression. Maybe you start writing, painting, or making music. Or maybe you bring more creativity to your work or your relationships. This creative energy is a beautiful expression of your rebirth. One of the most profound changes that can come with this rebirth is a new relationship with change itself. What used to scare you might now excite you. You understand that change is a natural part of life, and you're more willing to embrace it. This makes you more resilient and adaptable, ready to face whatever life throws your way. It's important to remember that this rebirth isn't a one-time event. It's more of an ongoing process. You'll likely continue to have moments of doubt or struggle, but you'll face them with new tools and a new perspective. Each challenge becomes an opportunity for further growth and transformation. Also, keep in mind that everyone's rebirth looks different. Your awakening journey is unique to you. Don't compare your process to anyone else's. Trust in your own unfolding and celebrate each step of your growth. This rebirth after the ruin of awakening is what makes the whole process worthwhile. Yes, it can be challenging and even painful at times. But on the other side of that challenge is a life that's richer, more authentic, and more fulfilling than you ever imagined possible. You're not just rebuilding your life, you're recreating it in alignment with your true self. And that's a beautiful thing. Going through a spiritual awakening can feel like being caught in a whirlwind. Everything's changing, Your emotions are all over the place, and you might feel like you're losing your grip on reality. But don't worry. There are ways to stay grounded and navigate this chaos. Let's talk about some practical tips to help you through this intense period of transformation. First and foremost, remember to breathe. It sounds simple, but when things get overwhelming, taking a few deep breaths can make a world of difference. Deep breathing helps calm your nervous system and brings you back to the present moment. Try this. Breathe in slowly for a count of 4, hold for 4, then exhale for 4. Repeat this a few times whenever you're feeling overwhelmed. It's like hitting a reset button for your mind and body. Another key to navigating the chaos is to establish a daily practice. This could be meditation, yoga, journaling, or any other activity that helps you connect with yourself and find some inner calm. The important thing is to do it regularly, even if it's just for a few minutes each day. This practice becomes like an anchor, helping you stay centered even when everything else feels like it's spinning out of control. It's also crucial to take care of your physical body during this time. Spiritual awakening isn't just a mental or emotional process, it affects your whole being. Make sure you're getting enough sleep, eating nourishing foods, and moving your body in ways that feel good to you. This physical self-care helps ground you in your body and gives you the energy you need to navigate the challenges of awakening. Don't underestimate the power of nature in helping you stay grounded. Spending time outdoors, whether it's a walk in the park or sitting under a tree, can be incredibly soothing and centering. There's something about connecting with the natural world that helps put things in perspective and reminds you that you're part of something bigger. While you're going through this process, it's important to be gentle with yourself. You might feel like you're on an emotional roller coaster, and that's okay. Allow yourself to feel whatever comes up without judgment. Treat yourself with the same kindness and patience you'd offer a good friend going through a tough time. It can also be helpful to find a community of like-minded people who understand what you're going through. This could be a local spiritual group, an online forum, or even just 1 or 2 friends who are on a similar path. Having people you can talk to who get it can make a huge difference. They can offer support, share their own experiences, and remind you that you're not alone in this journey. Remember, it's okay to seek professional help if you need it. A therapist or counselor who's familiar with spiritual issues can be a valuable ally during this time. They can help you process your experiences and provide tools for managing the intense emotions that often come with awakening. Lastly, try to embrace the chaos rather than fight against it. This doesn't mean you have to love every moment of it, but accepting that this is part of the process can make it easier to navigate. Trust that even when things feel out of control, there's a deeper wisdom at work. You're exactly where you need to be on your journey. As you move through the chaos of spiritual awakening and start to embrace the changes, you'll begin to notice a new normal emerging in your life. This new normal isn't about everything being perfect or easy all the time. Instead, it's about living in a way that's more aligned with your true self and with a deeper understanding of life. One of the first things you might notice in this new normal is a greater sense of inner peace. The constant chatter of your mind starts to quiet down. You're less caught up in worries about the future or regrets about the past. Instead, you find yourself more present in the moment able to appreciate the simple joys of life that you might have overlooked before. Your relationships often take on a new quality in this new normal. You might find that you're more authentic in your interactions with others. You're less concerned with pleasing everyone or fitting into a certain mold. Instead, you're able to show up as your true self, and this authenticity often leads to deeper, more meaningful connections. In this new normal, you'll likely find that your priorities have shifted. Things that used to seem so important, like having the perfect job title or accumulating material possessions, might not matter as much anymore. Instead, you might find yourself valuing experiences over things, focusing more on personal growth and meaningful connections. You may also notice a shift in how you handle challenges. Life still has its ups and downs, but you're better equipped to navigate them. You have a broader perspective that allows you to see difficulties as opportunities for growth rather than insurmountable obstacles. You're more resilient, able to bounce back from setbacks with greater ease. Another aspect of this new normal is a deeper trust in life itself. You start to see that there's a flow to things, a natural unfolding that you can align with rather than fight against. This doesn't mean you become passive, but rather that you learn to work with life rather than against it. In this new phase, you might find yourself naturally drawn to practices that support your ongoing growth and well-being. Meditation, yoga, time in nature, these might become regular parts of your routine, not out of obligation, but because they genuinely enhance your life. Your relationship with yourself also transforms in this new normal. You become more compassionate towards yourself, able to acknowledge your flaws without harsh self-judgment. You're more in tune with your own needs and better able to set healthy boundaries. It's important to note that this new normal isn't a static state. Growth and change continue, but they're less chaotic and more organic. You're continually evolving, but from a place of greater awareness and alignment with your true self. After all the upheaval and challenges of spiritual awakening, you might wonder, is it really worth it? The answer is a resounding yes. While the process can be difficult, the benefits of going through a spiritual awakening are profound and far-reaching. One of the most significant benefits is a deeper sense of purpose and meaning in life. Instead of just going through the motions or following a path that society has laid out for you, you start to understand why you're here and what truly matters to you. This sense of purpose can infuse every aspect of your life with new energy and enthusiasm. Another major benefit is increased self-awareness. Through the awakening process, you get to know yourself on a much deeper level. You understand your patterns, your motivations, your fears, and your desires. This self-knowledge is incredibly empowering. It allows you to make choices that are truly aligned with who you are, rather than who you think you should be. Spiritual awakening often leads to greater emotional intelligence. You become better at recognizing and managing your own emotions, as well as understanding and empathizing with others. This can dramatically improve your relationships and your ability to navigate social situations. Many people also experience improved mental health after going through an awakening. While the process itself can be emotionally challenging, the end result is often a greater sense of inner peace and resilience. You're less likely to be thrown off balance by life's ups and downs. Awakening can also lead to a more positive outlook on life. you start to see the beauty and wonder in the world around you. Even ordinary moments can take on a sense of magic. This doesn't mean you're always happy, but you have a deeper appreciation for the full spectrum of human experience. Another benefit is increased creativity. As you let go of old limitations and connect with your true self, you often find new ways to express yourself. This could manifest in art, music, writing, or even in how you approach problem solving in your daily life. Spiritual awakening often brings a sense of connection to something larger than yourself. Whether you call it God, the universe, or simply life itself, this connection can provide a profound sense of comfort and support. Many people also report improved physical health after going through an awakening. This could be due to reduced stress, better self-care practices, or simply a more positive outlook on life. Your body and mind are intimately connected, so as your mental and emotional state improves, your physical health often follows suit. Lastly, going through a spiritual awakening can give you a sense of freedom. You're no longer bound by societal expectations or your own limiting beliefs. You're free to be your authentic self and to create a life that truly reflects who you are. As we wrap up our exploration of why a spiritual awakening can feel like it's ruining your life and why that's actually a good thing, let's take a moment to reflect on the bigger picture. Yes, the process of awakening can be challenging. It can turn your world upside down and make you question everything you thought you knew. But on the other side of that chaos is a life that's richer, more authentic, and more fulfilling than you ever imagined possible. Remember, what feels like ruin is actually renovation. You're not losing yourself. You're finding your true self. The old structures that no longer serve you are being cleared away to make room for something new and beautiful. It's like the caterpillar in the chrysalis. What looks like destruction is actually transformation. As you go through this process, be patient with yourself. Awakening is not a race or a competition. It's a deeply personal journey that unfolds in its own time. Trust in the process, even when it feels difficult. Know that every challenge you face is an opportunity for growth and that you're becoming stronger and more authentic with each step. Don't be afraid to seek support when you need it. Whether it's from friends, family, a spiritual community, or professional help, having people to lean on can make a big difference. Remember, you're not alone in this journey. Most importantly, try to approach your awakening with curiosity and openness. Yes, it can be scary at times, but it's also an incredible adventure. You're exploring the depths of who you are and uncovering the mysteries of life itself. That's pretty amazing when you think about it. So if you're in the midst of a spiritual awakening and feeling like your life is falling apart, take heart. What feels like ruin is actually the first step towards rebuilding a life that's truly aligned with your authentic self. Embrace the journey with all its ups and downs, knowing that on the other side is a version of yourself and your life that's more beautiful and fulfilling than you ever dreamed possible. Remember, the caterpillar might think the world is ending, but the butterfly knows it's just beginning. Your awakening is not the end. It's just the beginning of a whole new chapter in your life. And trust me, it's going to be amazing.